Hello everyone, back tuning into today's first video. We're going to have a look at the long-range seasonal models for winter of 2018-19 for today's first video. So it's the second winter 2018-19 seasonal model roundup. We're going to get 11 long-range models together to see what they're all showing for the winter of 2018-19. Only the second time we've done this this season. We did the first update at the end of September, of course, and the final seasonal model roundup for winter 2018-19 will be at the end of November. So it's kind of like the second of a trilogy of updates. Just say that coming up tomorrow, we'll have the 9th winter 2018-19 update. So that's going to be your usual Sunday morning update, looking at things like solar activity, sea surface temperature, anomalies, analogues, and also Siberian snow cover, amongst other things. So that'll be with you 10 a.m. Tomorrow morning. Later on today, we'll have the week ahead forecast, as always on a Saturday, having a detailed look at weather for the week ahead. And then this afternoon, we've got a video coming up looking at weather next week to 10 days, your usual regular week to 10 day weather forecast using video. So quite a busy day at the website. It's going to be a long video, of course, so you can't watch it all in one go. Don't worry, this video will be placed on the winter updates page this evening. There'll be a written summary that goes with it as well, just going over everything that we discuss in the video. So without further ado, we'll get on with your second winter 2018-19 seasonal model roundup, and we're going to begin with the JMA. So this is the 500 millibar height anomaly flowchart for from the JMA for November through to January. This doesn't quite cover the full winter period yet. All of the other models in this update will cover the full winter period, but this one doesn't yet quite cover the winter ahead. So this is the 500 millibar height anomaly for the 3 months from November through to January, and we see in terms of 500 millibar height anomaly that we're placing an area of below average heights very close to the country, almost over the top of the country. British Isles in the top right hand corner chart as you're looking at it, of course, with the flow and the jet coming through something a little bit like that. Let's have a look at the temperature anomaly for November through to January 2019, and that's coming out warmer than average. JMA is going for a milder than average 3 months from November through to January, and in terms of the precipitation anomaly, it looks like this: above average precipitation from November through to January. So unsettled, quite mild, but also quite wet in the coming 3 months through to the middle part of the winter. The black arrows are always a little bit difficult to make out, but the mean wind direction doing something rather like that. So they won't be particularly warm winds there. The actual, although the flow is southwesterly into the UK, the actual mean wind direction is kind of like northwest into southwest, is around that trough of low pressure. I can tell you that there's a lot of intra-month variation there as well. And in terms of the month-by-month breakdowns, which I can't show you right now, but it is going for a very blocked January. It's going for northern blocking in January, and the chance of much colder conditions perhaps then. So mild earlier in the winter, and then maybe blocked and colder as we get through into January. Next month, the JMA will cover the full winter 2018-19 period, so that could be quite interesting to see in next month's third and final seasonal model roundup. Right, let's go to the Americas. We'll go to South America first. These are the 500 millibar height anomalies from the Brazilian model. Now, this one always does things a little bit different, because on this chart, greens, blues extrapolating to above average heights, which is high pressure, and yellow, orange and red extrapolating to below average heights, which is low pressure. Normally it's the other way round, but with this particular model, I think they did try and catch us out. So this particular model, blue is high pressure, yellow, orange and red, low pressure. So in terms of 500 millibar height anomaly, we see an area of above average heights to kind of like the south and southwest of the British Isles, also to the southeast too, with not particularly low pressure, but certainly lower heights out to the northwest. And that would seemingly place us with a west-southwesterly flow through the winter. So a relatively Atlantic-driven and mild signal from the Brazilian model for the winter of 2018-19. Temperature anomalies with the Brazilian model are coming out slightly milder than average, so a rather mild winter being forecast. And in terms of precipitation anomalies, overall on the wetter than average side, but we see that it is driving average down to the southwest, and interestingly it is also driving average to the northwest. So it's not a strong southwesterly or westerly flow that the Brazilian model is forecast, because it would be wetter than that in the Atlantic. But overall the forecast is for a rather Atlantic driven winter with milder than average temperatures and slightly above average rainfall as well. We go north to Canada. So this is the CanSIPS model from tropicaltidbits.com. You can find the link to Tropical Tidbits, and most of these websites you can find the links to them on the links page. So this means sea level pressure anomalies from CanSIPS, and to be honest there's not much to go on. The colours are very, very weak here, indicating that basically we just have no real anomaly. We have average sort of pressure, which of course in the winter average pressure is going to place high pressure down to the south and low pressure up to the north. And the jet stream is going to be coming through from the Atlantic, something like that, because that's our prevailing sort of wind direction and setup in the winter, westerly or southwesterly. So temperature anomalies with CanSIPS are forecast to be slightly above average. We're not alone in the UK. Most parts of Northern Europe are also coming out much milder than average, as is much of America. Actually, it's a very warm scene pretty much across the entire Earth, you have to say, away from kind of like the South Pole anyway, down in the far south of the Southern Hemisphere. In terms of precipitation anomalies, CanSIPS is going for a rather dryish winter, actually, with below average rainfall, especially to the west and the southwest of the country. So a very quiet, very benign sort of winter, not much going on. Temperatures rather on the mild side, and a lot of dry weather as well. Not much to get excited about there. This is the probability forecast for temperature from IRI, and this is the International Research Institute for Climate and Society from Earth Institute and Columbia University. That's a bit of a mouthful to get out. So, as I say, this is temperature probability for the winter of 2018-19 for Europe. And again, not really a great deal going on. We see that northern Scandinavia is being forecast to have a milder than average winter, as is the far east, southeast of Europe. Out in the west and through the central areas, the probability is for sort of average normal temperatures. So we're neither favouring warmer than average or cooler than average at the moment with the probability forecast from IRI. What I can say though is that this model tends to favour warmer probabilities. So when you see average probabilities, in actual fact that often is quite a cool signal from this model, and a dry winter as well being forecast, so kind of similar to CanSIPS, I suppose, in some ways, although it is a little bit cooler than CanSIPS. We see probability is for below average precipitation through the northwest of Europe, so much of the UK, Ireland, northern parts of France. Also we notice Scandinavia as well has probability for a drier winter, and parts of Iceland too. So it does possibly hint of high pressure being quite dominant through the north and the west of Europe during this winter. So rather dry winter, quiet winter, again being signalled there in terms of the probability forecast from IRI. Over to Patel Peng next. So this is an analogues-based forecast from Patel Peng, following on from our good friend Hugo van der Doel, who retired some time ago, of course, but Patel Peng has kept the analogues on. So what Patel's doing here, he's looking at sea surface temperature anomalies across the world in any given month. In this instance, this was generated in September. looks at those sea surface temperature anomalies and then goes back to past years that had similar sort of sea surface temperature anomalies, and then creates an analogue space forecast going forwards. Patel works under the umbrella of NOAA, so in actual fact we've come down into the United States for this one. So we see that in terms of the 200 millibar height anomaly, we've got below average heights to the north of Scotland, with above average heights down to the southwest of the British Isles, and that will be feeding in westerlies or southwesterlies, so an Atlantic-driven winter being forecast by Patel Peng. This means that we have a milder than average winter. Temperature anomalies are coming out warmer than average, not just for the UK, but for many parts of Europe as well. And the precipitation anomaly, that's a little bit different compared to certainly IRI and also CanSIT, because the precipitation anomaly is coming out much wetter than average. A mild, wet, Atlantic-driven, zonal, wet and windy winter being forecast by Patel Peng's analogues again this month. CFS V2 looks like this. Is a 700 millibar height anomaly from the CFS V2, with below average heights to the north of the British Isles and above average heights some way away from us in the central part of the Atlantic Ocean. The jet stream and the flow is going through something like that. So a rather Atlantic-driven and pretty mild winter would be the signal there from the CFS V2 in terms of the 700 millibar height anomaly for the winter of 2018-19. Now, as we just go on to the next tri-monthly period, which is January, February, March, just taking us to the end of the winter, we do see a bit of a change then with CFS V2. The below average heights start to become centred over and to the east of the British Isles, with above average heights beginning to set up around Greenland. This would send the jet stream to our south and would start to pull in colder air from the northwest, or possibly even from the north. So I think CFS V2 is going for colder later in the winter, milder earlier in the winter. This is the temperature anomaly from CFS V2 for the winter of 2018-19, and it's a mild winter being forecast overall, with those westerlies coming in from off the Atlantic. Actually, the UK is one of the cooler places in Europe, and Ireland too, because at least we do have a few areas of average temperature anomalies, whereas most of northern and particularly eastern Europe are coming out much warmer than average through this winter. But from December, January, February to January, February, March, we do see evidence that the northwest of Europe is cooling down. So Scandinavia drops to average, the UK, Ireland drops to average as well. Still warmer than average though through these central parts of Europe. Remember, in the latter part of the winter, this January, February, March period, we've got low pressure over the UK and also going into central parts of Europe as well, with above average pressure, above average heights, high pressure appearing up here. And so this would send the jet stream a little bit more southerly and would possibly start to allow colder air to begin to attack from the north. Remember, many of these models are a little bit biased on the warmer side. So if they start forecasting average temperatures, very often you can sort of assume that's likely, at least some of the time, to be colder than average, because normally the sort of default position with these models, and particularly CFS V2, is warmer than average. So if it drops the anomaly to average, they hardly ever forecast colder than average temperature anomalies. But if they drop the temperature average to average, then you can sometimes think that you might be in with a chance of a colder period. Precipitation anomalies look like that. So overall, we're forecasting with CFS V2 a wetter than average winter. We've got this westerly flow going, so we have above average precipitation through much of central and northern Europe, and the British Isles is included in that, particularly sort of western parts of the British Isles. And then this late winter period actually turns more unsettled. So this is January, February, March precipitation anomaly. Remember, the jet stream is shifting southwards through this period, so it turns much wetter through France, through kind of like the northern Alpine regions. Would be heavy snow there. Notice drive and average around Iceland, drive and average up towards Norway. So this is where we've got the high pressure developing up here. Jet stream is being pushed southwards. And of course, as it's turning colder, it's still unsettled for the UK. So maybe some wintry potential later in the winter. We'll have to wait and see about that, of course. Right, we move over to Europe, and this is the mean sea level pressure anomaly from Météo France. This is what Météo France is forecasting in terms of mean sea level pressure anomalies for the winter of 2018-19. It's placing an area of low pressure over the top of the UK and much of Central Europe. So there's a trough within the 500 millibar flow, and we have high pressure out in the middle of the Atlantic and also going up towards Greenland as well. Once again, this could entrench cold air into this trough, particularly if it becomes centred more to the east of the British Isles. Temperature anomalies with Météo France for the winter 2018-19 are warmer than average for many southern and eastern parts of Europe. So a little bit of a trend for southern and eastern Europe to have quite a warm winter. Out in the west and in the northwest, including the UK and also including Ireland, we're coming out either average or a bit colder than average for winter 2018-19. So that's one of the models that's hinting at the chance of something a bit colder for this winter. Precipitation wise, whoops, that's going to update. So that's gone a little bit wrong. It's refreshed the page. So what can we do about that? Let's try going here. So it's going to take a little bit of sorting out. In fact, I may even have to pause the video. So we've got problems at Copernicus website. They have made an update to the Copernicus website, and it's not anywhere near as functional as it was, regrettably. So what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to pause the video there, and I'll have to get the precipitation chart up for Météo France for you, and then we'll have a go at doing the rest of the updates after that. So why don't you go off and get yourself a cup of tea or something like that, maybe a cup of coffee, and we'll meet back in a couple of minutes' time when I'll have that precipitation anomaly chart up for you from Météo France via the Copernicus website, and we'll go into the remainder of the models then. So see you in around 2 minutes. All right, we're back and we're ready to resume the second winter 2018-19 season one round. Sorry about that. The Copernicus website let us down. They've had an upgrade to the website. It's nowhere near as functional as it was. It's a very, very difficult website to navigate now. I'm not sure why they've done this, but there we go. We have to work with tools that we have. So we'll resume now by showing you the precipitation anomaly for winter 2018-19 from Météo France. Just a recap on what the model was showing for its mean sea level pressure anomaly. So for winter 2018-19, it's placing an area of low pressure over and to the east of the UK in the sort of 500 millibar flow with blocking out to the northwest like that, and the chance of some colder air being entrenched into that low pressure from the north. Right, so this is the temperature anomaly. We just had a look at that, of course, for Europe for the winter of 2018-19, going for a rather cool winter, average to cool, possibly cold, across the UK and Ireland. So they show you that precipitation anomaly that they try desperately to stop me showing you. So this is the precipitation anomaly for winter 2018-19 from Météo France via the Copernicus website. Going for a rather wet winter, actually, across the northwest of Europe. So Scandinavia down to the UK. Above average rainfall generally in those areas. Notice how much drier than average it is, though, in the northern part of the Atlantic. So you can clearly see where the high pressure is out here. And with low pressure sort of down here, obviously we would be having the chance, anyway, of pushing cold air into that trough. So some of that precipitation could be falling as snow if the Météo France model is right. That's one of the models that's hinting at a colder winter this month, I think. This is the ECMWF. This is mean sea level pressure anomaly. Again, this is from the ECMWF website itself. Can see this at Copernicus also. So it's showing high pressure for the winter overall to be to our northeast, with low pressure in the middle of the Atlantic down here. The jet stream is going down there as well, and we would be at risk of bringing in some colder easterly winds through this winter. It has reduced the blocking signal compared to last month. I've got to tell you about it. It has reduced it quite a lot, actually, compared to last month. But there is still hints of high pressure over Scandinavia for this winter, so a cold winter certainly couldn't be ruled out. Temperature anomalies through this winter are forecast to be close to average through the UK, not a big deviation either way. And then in terms of the precipitation anomaly, again, you see there's this idea that it's drier than average up here to the north of the British Isles, drier than average in the northern Atlantic, wetter than average down here. So you would look at that and think we've probably got quite a bit of high pressure going on up here. We've probably got low pressure and the jet stream down here to the south of us. And so you will think there's at least a chance on and off perhaps of bringing in those easterly winds at times through this wind. So again, ECMWF possibly hinting at being a rather colder winter as well. Then we're on to our very own UK Met Office Glosea 5 model. So again, this is mean sea level pressure anomalies. Again, this is for winter 2018-19. Just quite a lot of low pressure around with this model this month. So there's quite a bit of low pressure around. We do have high pressure down here. But overall, it looks like we have quite an Atlantic flow, quite a Atlantic dominated westerly winter coming up. Temperature anomalies are forecast to be above average. Excuse me. And then we go through to the precipitation anomaly, and that also is forecast to be above average. So a mild, wet, westerly winter being forecast by the UK Met. We're on to the Beijing Climate Centre next. So this is the 200 millibar height anomaly for winter 2018-19 from the Beijing Climate Centre. This one's quite interesting. I do rate the Beijing Climate Centre quite highly, especially when you're just 1 month before the season. So at this point, it's still prone to chopping and changing a little bit, but this will be the one to keep a very close eye on next month for the third and final winter 2018-19 update, season model roundup, I should say. When we got to the final update last year with the seasonal models in the end of November 2017, this is one of a few models to be hinting at a colder winter. And during the final update with the summer updates, again, this is one of a few models to be forecasting the chance of a hot summer. So as I do rate this model quite highly, this is a 200 millibar height anomaly for winter 2018-19. Overall, it's going for high pressure to be to the north of the British Isles. We have got a signal there for high pressure to be sitting to our north, which you will think is bringing in these easterly winds. So a rather blocked high pressure dominated winter being forecast by the Beijing Climate Centre for this winter. Temperature anomalies are close to average. Notice central parts of Europe are actually forecast to have a slightly colder than average winter. Close to average temperature anomalies being forecast from the Beijing Climate Centre. And of course, with so much high pressure around, we do see that it's a drier winter as well in terms of the precipitation anomaly. How that works out month by month. So this is the 200 millibar height anomaly for December, when it is placing high pressure quite a long way from us, actually. That's a bit of a blocking signal that we've got going on up there. And there's a trough of below average height sitting to our east. So possibly something a bit colder being brought into the UK from the east, northeast during December perhaps. Then we're into January, and the 200 millibar height anomaly looks like this, with above average heights just generally sitting around northern Europe. So lots of high pressure going on. you would think there's a chance of bringing in some easterly winds as well with that. But I think the emphasis in January is just on very dry conditions, probably quite frosty, and probably best to leave it at that. And then this high pressure fest goes on into February as well. This time the high pressure is sitting just a little bit more to the west of the UK and the southwest, but it does also extend up into much of northern Europe as well. So a very, very anticyclonic winter being forecast here, and just not quite right to deliver a very cold winter to us, or to deliver a cold winter to us. But of course it wouldn't be particularly warm with all this high pressure going on. You would expect lots of dry but frosty conditions. Probably not all that much snow because it's so anticyclonic. There wouldn't be a great deal of precipitation. And if this was to come off, obviously we would have a very dry winter, and that will create some concerns as we look ahead towards next summer. But we won't worry about that at the moment, and we'll see what the Beijing Climate Centre is showing next month. And then finally, the only model in this second winter 2018-19 season we're around to go for a colder than average winter is JAMSTEC. This is the temperature anomaly forecast for winter of 2018-19 from JAMSTEC. It's going for a colder than average winter, quite significantly so actually, for much of the UK and Ireland. The temperature anomaly is going down to around a degree or more colder than average. Most of North America is also being forecast to have quite a cold winter as well. Interestingly, especially southern parts, southeastern parts of the states. So a cold winter coming up if that's right, and the reason is given away by the precipitation anomaly, where it's drier than average to the north of the UK, substantially so around Iceland, also going towards Scandinavia, so lots of high pressure up there. It's wet down to the south of the UK, so the jet streams down here, we've got the high pressure in the north, in the northern latitudes, and bringing in those easterly or northeasterly winds. And so that's the reason JAMSTEC is forecasting a colder than average winter. The only model this month to be doing that, although a few of your models are hinting at a cold winter. They aren't actually going that far with their temperature anomaly, but we've got Météo France definitely hinting at a colder winter. We've got ECMWF still just about hinting at a cold winter, but it's backed away from that blocking signal that we had last month. But nevertheless, it's still there and hinting at a chance of colder weather this winter. And also the Beijing Climate Centre. I don't think that is too far away at all from a cold winter. That will be the one to watch next month. I can tell you that the Beijing Climate Centre will be the one to keep a very close eye on next month to see what it's showing for the winter of 2018-19. Now, I have to say, these models have backed away a little bit from the chance of a cold winter, because last month, the first update with the seasonal models, we more or less had a 50-50 split between those models that were going for cold and those models that were going for mild. We now only have the one model, JAMSTEC, which is going for a colder winter, colder than average winter, although there are several other models in there that hint, anyway, in terms of the pressure, 500 millibar heights or mean sea level pressure anomalies. There are several in there that hint at the chance of something a bit colder for this winter. But it all remains to be seen. We'll do the third and final season one roundup at the end of November. It'll be the last Saturday of November, be the day before the 13th and final winter update. And then we're going to bring it all together. It's getting ever closer now when we're going to do this. We're going to bring it all together on the 2nd of December. We will release the GWV.com winter 2018-19 forecast. So we're nearly into November. We're getting to the business end of the update, so it's getting very serious now. The winter forecast will be released at GWV's on the 2nd of December, but still a few more updates, including one more season one roundup to do before we get there. Right, this video will be placed on the winter updates and forecast page with a written summary that goes with it. Sorry about the little mix-up that happened in the middle of the video with the Copernicus website. Fortunately, there's also anything I can do about it. I had to pause the video to get that chart up for you. But that's all for now. Come back later on when we'll have a look at the weather for the week ahead. We'll do your weekend forecast, as always, on a Saturday. And then this afternoon, we'll have the week to 10 day weather using video. But at just under 30 minutes, just under half an hour, That's all for now, and thanks for watching.